All right, look, we all know the names. Derwin James, Khalil Mack, the usual stars on this Chargers defense. But what if I told you the real breakout in 2025 might come from a guy nobody's really talking about? No hype, no spotlight, just straight up production. With Joey Bosa out of the picture, this dude's about to take over. And if you've been paying attention, the signs were all there last season. Let's talk about the Chargers' biggest sleeper and why he might be the key to taking this defense to the next level. What's up, Chargers fans? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Chargers. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Bolts. Okay, so here is the man, Tuli Tuipulotu. Because honestly, this is what it is. And if you've been following his development over the last 2 seasons, you already know why. He's been playing behind 2 veterans, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, quietly doing his job, racking up pressures and eating up snaps. But now, the door is wide open. And if there's one guy on this defense ready to step up, it's Tuli. Here's the thing. In 2023, his rookie year, Tuli was already making noise as a run defender. He posted an 88.4 run defense grade, which is elite by any measure. But then in 2024, something changed. The run grade dipped a bit, yeah, but the pass rush production exploded. He jumped from 4.5 sacks to 8.5, and even that number doesn't tell the whole story. Because if you actually watched the tape, you saw how many near sacks he had. Plays where he beat his man, got pressure, and just barely missed finishing the job. That 8.5 could have easily been double digits if a few more of those landed. And don't forget, he wasn't even a full-time starter, but despite that, he still played over 1,600 defensive snaps across his first 2 seasons. That's a ton of game reps. To put it in perspective, in 2024, he actually outsnapped Khalil Mack. Tuli logged 734 snaps, while Mack had 617. Now yes, Mack dealt with some injury stuff, and his 2023 snap count was much higher, over 900. But still, that tells you how trusted Tuli already is by this coaching staff. And what makes this even more exciting is that Tuli is finally being pulled off of special teams duty. Last season, he played 337 special teams snaps. That's every unit, every phase, and it was wearing him down. Now that the Chargers have brought in guys like Kyle Kennard and maybe Bud Dupree to take over those roles, Tuli can focus completely on defense. And that's huge. That extra gas in the tank, that's the difference between 8.5 sacks and 12. You also can't overlook how streaky his production was last year. 7 of those sacks came in just 4 games. So, what does that tell you? When he gets rolling, he's hard to stop. But now, with a full-time role, more consistent usage, and less physical demand from special teams, there's a real chance he turns that flash into full season impact. This is the year we see the complete version of Tuli Tuipulotu. Now, while we're talking about under-the-radar impact, let's shift to the offensive side for a minute. Because Tyler Conklin might be one of the most slept-on signings of this offseason. Nobody's talking about this guy, but I'm telling you, he's a perfect fit for what Justin Herbert needs. Conklin's not flashy. He's not a burner. He's not a highlight reel guy. But what he is consistent. 4 straight seasons of over 400 yards, a career high of 620, and just 2 drops on 150 targets. That's insane reliability. And in this offense, that matters. Look at what Herbert's done with his tight ends. He elevated Gerald Everett. He made Will Dissly look better than anyone expected. And now, he gets a guy who's flat out better than both. Conklin is a legitimate top 15 tight end. Statistically, if you average out his last 4 seasons, he ranks 14th in catches, 15th in yards, and 8th in receptions among all tight ends. That's not a projection. That's who he already is. Plug him into this system with Herbert, and don't be surprised if he sets a new career high this year. And now, let's talk about the wide receivers, because there's hype building around rookie Trey Harris, and rightfully so. A fan asked, can he go for 800-plus yards and 6 touchdowns and become wide receiver 2 before the bye week? Let's break it down. 800 yards? That's a bit ambitious. That's a tough number for any rookie, especially in this offense with so many mouths to feed. Even Mike Williams, who was a top 10 pick, had just 11 catches for 95 yards in his rookie year. So it's smart to temper expectations there. But the 6 touchdowns, that's doable. Trey Harris is a monster in man coverage. He's physical, has great body control, and he can win in the red zone. That skill set translates. And in terms of climbing the depth chart, yeah, I can absolutely see him overtaking Quentin Johnston pretty quickly. Johnston still has flaws in his game. Harris, he's more polished. Cleaner routes, better hands, more consistent playmaker. He might be WR4 going into camp behind Ladd McConkey, Mike Williams, and Johnston. But don't be shocked if by week 4 or 5, he's getting the second most targets among wideouts, especially if Mike gets banged up, which, let's be real, history says is likely. And here's the kicker. Harris isn't just a deep threat. He's got real YAC ability too. He can play both outside and the Z spot, run drag routes, break tackles, and turn short catches into chunk plays. That versatility makes him super valuable in this scheme. So, are we overhyping the rookie class? Honestly, no, I don't think so. Not when you look at the state of last year's offense. Outside of Ladd, there wasn't much to get excited about. This team needed to restock with offensive playmakers, and they did exactly that, both through the draft and free agency. Now, not all of these guys will pop right away. That's just the reality, but if you're asking me who's most likely to make an immediate impact, it's Trey Harris and Condre Lambert-Smith. Harris for the reasons we just talked about, and KLS because the Chargers have desperately needed a true field-stretching speed threat with size. He gives you that. The one who might take a little longer is Aronda Gadsden II. He's behind Tyler Conklin and Will Dissly on the TE depth chart, so the path to snaps is tougher. But long-term, Gadsden has the traits to be a matchup nightmare at tight end. Now, there is a question frequently asked, who contributes more this season, Gadsden or KLS? I lean KLS just because of the opportunity. WR5 gets on the field more than TE3, and KLS can make explosive plays downfield. But I'll say this. If Gadsden flashes early, and if Conklin or Dissly miss time, he could step into a huge role fast. His pass-catching ability at tight end is rare. Now, let's pivot to a bigger question. What would it take for this Chargers team to be a real AFC contender, not just a playoff hopeful? The answer's simple, a dominant run game. If you told me right now that this team will average 4.5 yards per carry and one of their backs breaks 1,000 rushing yards, I'm telling you, they're winning a playoff game, maybe more. That's the formula. Great quarterback, wide receiver 1, a real running game, and a defense that can get after it. That's the model for playoff success. Last season, the Chargers' average distance to go on third down was 7 yards. You're not staying on schedule like that, but if you're getting 4.5 yards per run, suddenly you've got 3rd and 1, 2nd and shorts, and play action becomes lethal. It changes everything. And finally, let's talk about the schedule, because there are 3 games that could define this season: Commanders, Steelers, and Texans. Now, Steelers and Texans, the Chargers should win those. They lost to both last year, but now those teams are in transition. The Steelers don't know who their QB is, and the Texans' offensive line is a mess. You win those games, that's already a sign this team is improving. The Commanders, though, that's a different beast. That team made a deep playoff run last year. They're not a joke. But even that game is winnable if the Chargers' defense shows up and the offense keeps pace. Bottom line, Tuli Tuipulotu is the key to unlocking this defense's next level. Trey Harris might be the spark that ignites the offense, and Tyler Conklin could quietly become one of Herbert's most trusted weapons. This team has the pieces. Now, it's just about execution, health, and a little bit of luck. But make no mistake, if everything clicks, this Chargers team can do real damage in the AFC.